Okay, so good morning from my side as well. My name is Pasi Turpeenniemi and I will talk today something about sustainable construction. What does it mean in RUUKKI construction? Before we go into the final topic, very quickly, what is RUUKKI, what do we do, just so you get the understanding. RUUKKI is basically a steel-based building product producer. We are present in the, let's say, highlighted countries there. And our main products are like steel roofs, and then we also have what we call envelope products, so different kind of facade products, sandwich panels, rain screen claddings. And then we also have something for the, let's say, load-bearing seats for the flat roof construction. Roughly €500 million in terms of net sales and roughly 1,300 to 1,400 persons working in RUUKKI. We are, as a company, fully owned by a company called SSAB, which is a Swedish-based steel producer. So that's very shortly about RUUKKI. Then a few words about what is actually driving the product development in RUUKKI. Well, I would say it partly starts from the regulations. So basically, on an EU level, we get certain targets in terms of the emission reductions from the buildings. But from our side, it is also a kind of driver, our own ambition. How do we actually develop, or what can we do from our side to reduce the CO2 emissions and what else we can do in terms of sustainability. These are what we called themes in sustainable construction in RUUKKI. So as we see it, we have taken, let's say, 4 themes from sustainability. And whenever we develop something, we try to think, what can we do to tackle these 4 topics here? So if we start from the left, climate change, I think that itself is pretty self-evident. It's heavily related to CO2 emissions, so how to slow down the climate change. Circularity, what it means basically is that first of all, how do we in a way minimize the use of new raw materials? How do we maximize the recycling, reusability and so forth? I think pretty self-evident as well. Biodiversity might be a bit more than complex thing, but basically if you take an example, we need to build something, let's say big logistics center somewhere. So first we need the land, so basically we need to cut the trees, we remove the grass, whatever, then we put the building on top. And in a way we are sort of kind of losing the nature there, so what can we do to minimize this impact, what the buildings are in a way causing in this respect. And then finally, safety and well-being. Well, I guess everyone understands what safety and well-being means, but then some of you might think that, yeah, good things, but what does this have to do with the sustainability? Well, we in RUUKKI, we believe that, or we see that safety and well-being is part of sustainability. So we really think of this when we talk about the sustainability as well. So yes, we have 4 themes, and then I will have some slides to explain a bit more concretely that what do we actually do in RUUKKI under these 4 different themes. So if we start with the leftmost one, the climate change. So basically what we are doing here, we are actually about to launch our what we call RUUKKI low carbon portfolio. Well, some of it has been launched, but a lot more will follow actually next month. Basically how we do it, it starts with the raw materials. We are using, or we will be using SSAB Zero Steel. What is SSAB Zero Steel? SSAB is our owner, the steel producer. Zero basically means that it's the steel produced completely from recycled scrap steel. So no, let's say, virgin steel is used on that, all coming from scrap. And then it is produced completely from or using renewable energy. So in effect, it means that the steel itself, the Zero Steel, is practically a no-emission steel as a material. Well, there is not enough scrap steel to fill the old demand for the steel. So then the next step is SSAB fossil-free steel, which is not yet, let's say, available in a kind of constant deliveries. We have made some pilots. It requires quite massive investments on the steel production mills. And as an SSAB, we have started already. But let's say in a proper scale, we can deliver this only from 2026. But some pilots we have made. But at this stage, the CRO is already available, and this is basically the main part of our RUUKKI low carbon portfolio at this stage. Then we also have some sustainable insulation materials. We will come back to those as well. So basically what it means then in terms of the climate change in RUUKKI, so very heavily now relying on the let's say zero emission steel as we produce it. But then we also have some let's say airtight envelope solutions. So in one of the presentations earlier today, there was a very good slide showing that the product itself, the embodied carbon, is only one part of it. And this we can tackle with, let's say, a low emission or zero emission raw materials when we produce it. But then during the lifetime of the building, the so-called use phase, we are then able to tackle that, for example, with this kind of airtight envelope solution. So less energy needed to heat or cool the building, and that's then creating less CO2 emissions as well. Then we also have some building integrated solar solutions, which then are creating, of course, renewable energy as well. So again, impacting on this use phase of the building. So that's about the climate change, how we tackle concretely now in RUUKKI. If you then go for the circularity part, on this side, yes, as I explained about, again, the SSAB Zero as a steel made completely 100% steel scrap. So in a way, I think that's a good example of circularity. And of course, the steel, as it was already mentioned earlier today, can be recycled again and again. And I think the benefit of steel, like any other metals, is that you can basically circulate or recycle it kind of as many times as you wish without any loss in the properties itself. So it's equally good quality, no matter how many times it has been recycled. Then we are using in our sandwich panels, I don't know if everyone knows what is a sandwich panel. Basically you have two steel facings with a little bit of insulation between, and this is typically used for external wall structures, typically used in logistics centers, sports halls, shopping centers, and so forth. So in addition to steel, there's also insulation, and in some of our products we also use glass wool as an insulation material, and glass wool, as we all know, is made from recycled glass. So again, a kind of example of circularity in construction. So yes, what comes to circularity, again, from our product point of view, means using recycled steel, using insulation materials with the high recycled content. So this is how we tackle this part of the sustainability themes in RUUKKI. Then biodiversity, kind of coming back to this example that yes, we need to build something, and as we build something, then in a way, to some extent, we are disturbing the nature. And what can we do as a RUUKKI to minimize that impact? And one example of that is this, what we call green roof solution. So it's basically a solution for flat roofs, which basically means that you can build this kind of green roof, so basically have a grass growing on your flat roof construction. So we have in a way a solution to do that. It's not exactly the same as the forest and everything before we built anything, but at least it's something to compensate what we lost when we started to do the building. And then this safety and well-being, which again, as said, might sound a bit strange. Is this sustainability? For us, it is sustainability. And I think a good example here is our sound environment solution, which basically is focusing on indoor kind of sound absorption, so having less echo effect, having in a way more living comfort there. Well, some of you might think, and quite rightly so, that steel is not very absorbing material, which is true, but when you perforate it, when you put a lot of small holes in it, it starts to actually absorb the sound. So in a way it's doable, and we have some solutions for this on the market now. Good. Then a few words about these raw materials, which we briefly spoke about already, but just quickly wrap up the steel solutions. So yes, today, well, the standard steel, some might call it dirty steel. Steel is, in a way, we are painfully aware that the steel is not very good. I mean, when you produce the steel, you are creating a lot of emissions. So we had to do something. And our mother company, SSAB, has done quite a lot. And as a result, there is the new steel, which we spoke about already. So the zero steel, which is made 100% from recycled steel scrap, whereas the, let's say, traditional standard steel in the Nordics, the recycled content is only about 20%. So with the zero steel, there's a huge improvement. But as said, there is not enough scrap to sort of fully answer the demand for the steel, so we still need to produce new steel as well. And our mother company, SSAB, has been investing a lot in the so-called fossil-free steel production. So basically the whole steel producing process is completely new, and basically it can be done completely without any emissions. It's a massive investment for the company. We have started it now, and it will take years and years when we have run out all of our production plants. But this is the plan. So that will be available, let's say, on a commercial scale from 2026 onwards. So in a way, we have tackled the issue, and we just need a bit more time and money to have everything up and running to let's say, solve the issue with what the steel is now causing with the high emissions. Yeah, we already spoke about the recycled steel, recycled glass in the insulation, but just to highlight here that we also use, instead of these different kind of mineral wools or glass wools in our sandwich panel insulation, we also use PIR, so polyurethane type of foam insulations. And as an example, we are using recycled PET when we produce our PIR foam. And for example, last year we used approximately 100 tons of recycled PET in our sandwich panel production. Okay, towards carbon neutral construction industry, what does it take? How can we achieve it? Well, it all starts from the raw materials, which we've been discussing today. Out of those raw materials, we produce our products. We, of course, try to minimize our own emissions from our own operations. And then we've been really looking for sustainably minded customers, because yes, sustainable products to some extent are more expensive to produce, and they come with a bit higher price as well. So it may not be for everyone, for all of our customers, and that's the reason why we really try to find the customers who have a little bit the same mind setting as we do, to really kind of work with them to have the final sustainable outcome, which of course is then together with our customers we can then transfer how the future buildings look like and what is their environmental impact. Our sustainable offering. So we already have something which I briefly mentioned already. Let's have a look at those before we go into the new products which we are now launching. So already today, and some of these solutions already for quite a few years we've had already. We have had solar roof solutions. I think the roof itself is pretty logical place for the solar panels. So we have some integrated, building integrated photovoltaic systems for the roofs. Then we have what we call RUUKKI air tightness package, which is then referring rather to if you build, let's say, your logistics center and you want to have it very airtight, to save the heating or cooling energy needs. So we have a solution how not only our products, but in a way, once it has been built, we can even give a certain airtightness guarantee for the building, which is then based a little bit on our own experience and knowledge how to build airtight. So yes, that is then the kind of tackling the part when you're actually using the building, which is the biggest part of what comes to CO2 emissions. The RUUKKI sound environment, as we spoke about, perforated products with a little bit of insulation materials on them as well. Those we have in the portfolio already, and tools how you can actually simulate it and how you calculate how much of the, for example, the ceiling should be perforated and so forth. And then we have what we call RUUKKI Life Panel, which is then using insulation material made from recycled glass. So this is basically what we do today. But if we then a little bit have a look what we will have now as we are introducing this low carbon offering. This is a product which is already out on the market. This is, to put it a little bit simplified, it's a standing seam type of a steel roof, which is produced completely from these SSAB zeros, so produced from fully recycled steel. And as an outcome of that, we are able to cut our CO2 emissions of the product itself roughly 70%. The rest, 30%, is then coming from the, let's say, transportation and the processing, how we produce the goods and so forth. But with this, we are now, in a way, tackling the biggest bad in the product. Of course, then the work continues with our own operations. How do we improve even more? But this is what we are able to get with just purely changing the raw material to so-called clean steel. And it's available also with this integrated solar solution for the lifespan or the use phase of the building as well. So this is already out there, but there is more to come. And this is what we are now about to launch. So in a way you are kind of hearing more or less first of this. These will be now launched during June. So in the next coming weeks we will roll out these products. Starting from the left-hand side, we have what we call low carbon sandwich panels. So again, what we are doing in those, so part of our portfolio will be available as an optional zero steel and some insulation materials which are reducing the emissions. Here the impact on GWP, so A1 to A3 level, is roughly about 50%. So not quite the 70 as in the previous slide, but this is because there's insulation material as well, which unfortunately we still can't have like fully CO2 emission free. And also the production of sandwich panel is a bit more, let's say, heavy process than it is just to produce a steel roof. So we are able to cut roughly 45 to 50% in there. And as said, we spoke about this air tightness package, so this is something we can then include in our sandwich panel delivery to make sure that it's airtight and giving the benefit then during the use phase. Then if we move on to low carbon facade claddings are basically this kind of rain screen cassettes, rain screen panels and profiles, which are produced from steel. There's no insulation in there. So there we are now rolling out most of our facade cladding products will be now available or pretty soon available from this SSAB Zero Steel, which is then giving the saving of approximately 70% in the emissions. And then we are also working on this kind of integrated solar system for our facade products as well. And that is still in the, let's say, development pipeline, and probably will have it ready for the next year. And then finally on the right-hand side, low carbon load bearing seats. So load bearings are used, I think as the image is trying to explain it, in the flat roof construction. And again, the same thing there, that produced from SSAB zero steel. So with that, we are able to achieve roughly the 70% saving compared to, let's say, standard steel, which is used commonly today. Good. Well, what is this 70% based on? I think, well, in a way, very engineering-minded, explaining that we kind of check the difference what is between the standard steel which we have been using so far, and what is then the emissions caused by the new zero steel, and that's basically all the insulation material there, and the difference is then roughly the 70%, or depending on the product there. Some references. We have done some pilots already. These are made with fossil-free steel. As I said, it will be only fully available from 2026, but some small batches we've managed to get from the pilot productions, and out of those we have produced some reference buildings. 2 of them, as you can see, are from Sweden. There's one from Finland, and I don't know, hopefully soon we will have something in Lithuania as well. But yeah, now as we start pushing more for this, so hopefully we get the references in place as well widely. But this is the starting point, to put it this way. And I would say one good example here on the left-hand side is that this building we made together with BEAP, and as I was saying, that we are looking this kind of sustainability-minded customers. So BEAP is something what we have kind of identified in Scandinavia, that they are very, let's say, sustainability-minded, and that's why we are in a way working with them on this one. Our way forward. So let's say very quickly. It's a kind of journey what we have started, and of course it will continue. This year is very heavily relying on this low carbon thing, because yes, as said, we know steel has not really been the best material from this perspective, and now when we finally are able to do something, this has a huge impact. So we are now heavily relying on this, so we are rolling it out to our own whole portfolio. We have started with certain products, but then we still need to continue. Again, the availability of zero steel is a little bit limited, so we try to get as much as possible of that and then able to roll it out to other products. But of course, there's still a lot more to do. I mentioned these solar things, and also now bearing in mind these 4 different themes we had in our sustainability. So there will be a lot more then, but just to kind of show that it's a kind of continuation, that we start with something and then we continue with the topic. Okay, and I think this is my last slide, but as we say it in RUUKKI, that sustainability is a choice, and it's a kind of investment for the future. But good. Thank you. That was shortly my presentation today.